welcome to you. That was stunning. Thank you. Thank you. He's going to give me search because you guys are the main course. That was flawless. Marina, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm just going to bask in that. And I have an invitation to you all this week. What if you just go on Soul Center Facebook and play that every single morning?
Yeah.
Just start your day that way.
Or YouTube.
Or YouTube. Or concerts. Anything's possible. I'll dance in the back and pretend I'm the backup singer. Now, I don't know what's going to happen today because I have to tell you, I'm not used to holding a mic. So, you know how my hands get moving? So if somebody needs to catch it, just toss it back. Because I'm not quite sure. Because I'm really used to just like, who knows? And they go back and forth. I'm not quite sure. How's everyone doing? Good. Good. How's everyone doing? Oh my goodness. I just want to charge you with something. Next week at this time, when Reverend Keith comes back, will all of you please be in these seats and bring 5 people with you?
Yeah.
Because what he's going to share with you is going to be all about the evolution of his soul, correct? Yeah. So you don't want to miss that. You don't want to miss that. This sacred, beautiful place brings together all of this. And you don't want to miss when someone who is so powerful like Reverend Keith goes out into the world to gain more of his expansion. He's willing to expand and then come back and share with us. Yeah. That's what we all get to do. Your reading was brilliant. Thank you so much.
Yeah, very good.
Brilliant. Everything's like popping all over the place. This was absolutely my joy to get up at some crazy hour this morning. I was like, what is she doing over there this early? Oh my goodness. So I just returned from Costa Rica this time. Yes. And had an amazing time teaching Reverend Michael's class. I go back next in a few weeks to assist him and then be the guest speaker right after him, which is really fun to be his backup singer. I can do it. Okay, I'll back you up and then I'll step right in here and start again. And in all that, I noticed that whenever I do go out and travel and teach, I have huge classes every day and then come back, that I feel my own inner expansion, that I know that I'm shifted because of everyone who's in the room. So I want to thank you all for being in the room. Because I get to come back and be shifted by you. We all get the blessings of this when we keep showing up. You got out of bed this morning and got here. You got here to grow and be still and know yourself more fully, yes?
Yes.
Can you, looking back on your life right now, would you say you're different from a year ago?
Yes.
How much different?
A lot.
A lot! Like, why don't you think from 5 years ago? How different are you today from 5 years ago?
Wow. Totally different.
Totally different. This young woman who bought this book years ago is totally different than when I bought this book. And guess how we are becoming more ourselves? Let me claim it that way. The pathway to become more ourselves is our own spiritual development. Our willingness to stand on the edge of our growth and absolutely say yes to it over and over and over again. The reason you got here evolved more than you were a year ago, and the reason you got up this morning is to continue to grow, yes?
Yes.
So I just applaud you for that, because you're already awake and willing to keep growing. Now that is something we must continue to do with every breath we take, is to stay willing, to stay on the edge of our absolute growth spurt and say yes, even when it's uncomfortable. Good morning. Love those pants. You don't have to give them to me. I don't want you to think that. My boots are good. I don't want you to think that. I have to watch myself when I say that. Because I could walk out and somebody could be stripping their clothes. I'm like, there you go. So you don't need to do that. I thank you all for all the blessings you've given me. It's been abundant. So in our element, in our truth to say yes over and over and over again, to keep evolving and growing, we must have the courage to keep moving through difficult things and difficult challenges.
Yes.
Our yes is what gets us there. Jessica and Patricia had a yes a long time ago, and they kept that yes valid. They keep it open all the time. And no matter how hard it gets, their yes is bigger than the circumstance. Every one of your yeses is bigger than a circumstance. So it's our willingness to get us through it, to keep knowing, no matter how hard it is, I'm going to keep saying yes and keeping the door wide open. There's a woman in Costa Rica one night that it's intense. And there was one moment she hit smack up against her growing edge and was coming unglued. And by the grace of God, I happened to be the one that was in the dining room when she came in, unglued. And when she did, I held her and gave space to her because she was feeling a lot. And a lot of anger was coming up, upset was coming up, because something was about to shift in the evolution of her soul. And it was extremely uncomfortable. Does anyone know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
When you bump up against the things that are absolutely been holding you in limitation, belief systems, old patterns that have been holding you, sometimes when we bump up against them, it gets really uncomfortable. So by the grace of God, I was able to sit with her and ask her if I could be with her. And as she was repeating over and over, this can't be solved, this is where I just can't do it anymore, and the words of can't and the power of no, and it's not possible kept coming up, and I just looked at her, listening to her, highly aware that I was listening to her, and I was not about to make her wrong. She was in the midst of feeling what she needed to feel. And I said, can I just ask you one question? And she said, what's that? I said, could you just leave the door of willingness open? You don't have to walk in it right now, just leave it open. Don't shut it all the way, that nothing's possible right this moment. That you can't see it, as tears are streaming down her face. And she said, I can't see it. I said, I understand, and I honor that you can't see it right now, but just leave the door open. That's all I ask. And she was willing to do that. She said, I will. I don't know how, Kim. I don't know how it's going to get better. I said, I don't either right this moment, but Spirit does. So I'm just asking you to leave it open. We continued to talk and pray, probably for another hour and a half, 2 hours, till she started to feel something was shifting within her. And something was literally energetically falling off of her in the time she just left the door willing to open, and that belief system that had come up to be let go. This always happens to me. It's so not fair. This is my situation in life. That belief system was starting to crumble and fall away as she walked back to her room that night. And the next morning, I meet her in class, and she walks in, and she physically looks like a different person. And as she sat down in the front row, I said, how are you feeling this morning? And she said, I feel great. I feel great. And so completely different than 12 hours prior. And she looked at me and said, the door was open and I finally walked in it. She was, if I didn't go through that, I had no idea. And she raised her hand and spoke this to 55 other people in the room and said, I had no idea that I was living in a belief system that kept me stuck for so many years, and I justified it because look what happened to me. So I had a really big story to justify it. She said, but now that I'm willing to see, wait a minute, it didn't happen to me, it occurred, but I get to choose again. So she made the choice the night before to be willing. The next morning she announced it verbally, out loud to each other. You're in a room. This is what happens when you're in a group. When somebody says, how are you? And you could say to someone that you trust in this room and say, I'm going through it and it's not comfortable. Could you just hold me through it? Then you give someone the space to let go. And in their let go, they rise up and remember who they are, and they're never the same again. So she was on the edge of her evolutionary shift. So she had an evolutionary jump with that let go. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
I want you to consider this morning of what's happening in your life anywhere where you have been praying, doing your work. You keep bumping up against something that still hasn't shifted, whether it's to do with money, whether it's to do with relationship, whether it's to do with health. Does anyone have this going on in their life?
Yeah.
And you still are doing your work, and you're still in this room, yes?
Yes.
So here's the good news. Your willingness to keep showing up in your practice, in the midst of the dark night, is what cracks the door wider for you to walk over the bridge to evolve. You will pop in the midst of pushing up against the most uncomfortable things, and when you want to say, I'm ready to throw in the towel, I can't do this any longer, is when all of us get to hold you and say, just keep breathing. Keep breathing, ask another question. Let's dive deeper in a bigger realization of what's going on for you. Because if you continue to practice, remember, this is a law. You're working with a responsive universal field that will bring it to you. You're just in the constant house cleaning. You're constantly cleaning your house. We have the opportunity to constantly clean up every day, every moment, to the thoughts, the belief systems. I had this, I'm going to ask you to remove a couple words this week out of your vocabulary. Is that okay?
Yeah.
You should just take a test for the next week. So one of them is no. No. What happens when you say no?
Shut down.
Yes, stop, shut down. Everything constricts. Everything constricts. I feel like a little bitty child that goes, no. It's like right then, it's like, wait a minute. What's possible? You just shut the door to willingness and possibility. So you may not know, K-N-O-W, how to move through something, but your no, N-O, is not going to open that door. Okay? So just, it could be yes. Okay, and yes, I'm willing. Okay, I'm willing. Just that. I want you to switch that. All right? The other one is this. How many of you know you got great butts you're sitting on? Everybody's got a great butt, because you get to sit on it, right? It's like, I know that. My husband tells me all the time, right? I love that. So you get to appreciate that one. What I want you to kick out the door is the butt that slows you down from the evolution of your soul. Every opportunity that you can catch yourself in, I would do that in my life, but yeah, I don't have the money to do that. No, I would go there with you, but I just can't get off of work. Any but that stops you from growing, I'm asking you to absolutely just push eject and get it out. And just try it. I just want you to try it. Just switch it up. Take that 3 little letters and switch it to end. I would like to do that end. I am open to listening to spirits, the way that's going to occur. Just wonderful, wonderful musician that comes to see me, and he's in his session this week, and he just has been doing great work, and just got an amazing album out, and just got interviews on the radio, and is expanding. And all of a sudden, he started to constrict. And he came in and sat down and went, but, Kim, what if it doesn't sell? And oh no, and then what if I can't get another one? And but he said but about 20 times in the first 10 minutes he was there. I looked at him and said, I gotta interrupt you right now. I care about you, but I gotta interrupt you. And he said, what? I said, right now, because you gotta stick that butt out the door. I'd like butt out. From this moment on, just go butt out. You're not invited anymore, those kind of butts. A butt that stops you from growing, that closes the door to possibility, will not allow you to continue to evolve. Is this making sense?
Yeah.
So it's one of those words that we'll notice it when we say to somebody, if somebody says to you, I'm so sorry I did that to you, but you deserved it. Right there, your butt just negates everything you just said. Or I'm so sorry, but you made me do that. Whatever it is, that butt, I'll say to you, just turn that butt around. Just turn it around. Because it's not going to serve you. So I want you to look at it with humor. Look at it from those moments of, okay, I have a butt that serves me, and I don't need that butt in my language to serve me any longer, all right? Thank you. Because every time we let it go, you created another room for willingness to take over. See, what I'm just inviting you to do is look at all the places where something is constricting you from staying willing to evolve and grow. You came here to evolve. Anything that constricts the path of willingness, I would like us to rethink it and look at letting it go. Because as we grow and evolve, just as you said, you're different today than you were a year ago, 5 years ago. You let things go that did not serve you any longer, correct?
Yeah.
So continue to. Our journey is to continue to evolve. It's not like we get somewhere and say, I'm here. We get somewhere and get to say, thank you, God, for assisting me to grow in this manner. And what's next? Because there is so much to learn. There is so much to be. Reverend Michael will stand in his shoes and say, there's still so much more to explore and be and understand. It isn't like any of us came in with the book being absolute. We have the book inside. The book to absolutely keep growing and seeking and knowing. But we must open it within our souls and absolutely allow the willingness to keep moving us forward. There was a time years ago that my beautiful practitioner, Reverend Kathleen, I was stuck in my story, completely stuck, and I can't remember which one it was, but they were always really good ones. This is a really good one. And she was like, I know, Kimberly. And she would just nod her head, I know. And she looked at me at one point and I said, how is this going to work? And what? That's the other one, how. You know how I feel about how. So I said, how's this going to work? And then this is occurring, and this is going to happen. And she just looked at me so gently and said, I just want to ask you to just be willing to will the to me, it was like, whoo, okay, I can do that. That has nothing to do with how. I could not have walked out of there and figured it out. I walked around for years, and still do. I will the will of God as my life. I will the will of God as my life. I'm willing to will the will of the spiritual universe that I know is omnipotent, absolutely brilliant, always moving through me. I'm willing to will that, because that knows more than I'm knowing in my human element. So when we surrender to that level of willingness, it is not about how am I going to do this, what do I have to move, what has to occur in my life for it to happen for me. It's about where can I surrender, which is hence why the song was so brilliant this morning. Because where can I surrender to know myself more fully, to trust Spirit so much that I don't have to figure anything out. It's not for you to figure out, it's for you to catch the insights so that as you move forward, you're being propelled by inspiration, not moved by push. That's my wish for you, to be propelled forward by inspiration, and you are caught in inspiration when the door of willingness is wide open. When you stay willing to live your wisdom. Now the wisdom comes back to everything you've been learning every day of your life, every moment that you're in practice, every moment you're in meditation, every moment you're here. You're just allowing your wisdom to be cultivated and cultivated and cultivated. Every time you take a deep breath, when you look at your loved one and you want to say, oh, I'm so mad or frustrated or confused, and you choose to take a deep breath instead, you're standing in your wisdom. And all we have to do is keep growing our wisdom, just like a plant. Just know I'm just growing my wisdom, just putting more seeds in, to just allow the wisdom of Spirit to rise up in me. So when I'm willing to will the will of God, I allow the wisdom to come up, and that is the how. It's not from us to think about, I gotta do this, I gotta calculate this, this, and this, this, and this. It's to catch the inspiration of the Most High that propels us into action. That's why we're taught, pray and move your feet. You stay in prayer till you catch the inspiration of what is it I'm to move to next. When that young woman came into the kitchen, to the dining area that night, completely upset and unraveling, it's not that I calculated, let's see, what should I do? Should I walk to her? Maybe I should tell her this. This is what I was taught. I was taught to pray in this way, so let me just go pray up there right now. It wasn't that. It was catching the inspiration that Spirit was guiding me to be of service in the way for that particular perfect individual that wasn't meant for someone else. That moment was meant for her and I to bump into one another. For something to be birthed in her and myself that changes us both forever. I may never see her again, but I have the vibration of that moment with me forever, as she does. You bump into individuals every single day that as you take a breath and just allow yourself to be with a God being standing right next to you, and catch the inspiration that comes from you because you're in their presence. Just by being in each other's presence, you remember who you are. I looked at a young woman last night who came out of a meeting, and she said she was feeling teary-eyed. She felt that just something occurred in the meeting that she felt like she wanted to dim her light quickly. She didn't feel heard, and I looked at her and said, you dimming your light will never honor the world. It will not make someone else feel more uncomfortable. You must shine your light. You are not here to ever dim, because you have to think about, wait a minute, if I walk in this room, I better just get smaller so I make someone else feel more comfortable. Have any of you ever done that? From this moment forward, can you agree? I'm not doing that anymore.
Not doing that anymore.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you. Everyone, we're not doing that anymore. So there's a whole bunch of things. One more time.
We're not doing that anymore.
Brilliant. Can we say I'm willing to shine my lights?
Yes.
Rightly.
Right.
From this moment onward. I will the will of God as my life. Wow, this is about as close as I can get to singing right now. If I go any farther, you guys will get scared. I could be a rapper because I can tell you. I didn't think of that before. No, not today. I don't want to be a principal. I have to go and practice. Oh, no. Back to center. Shine my light. That can be scary. Okay, it's good. It's all right. Woo! Made my day right there, you guys. All of you. Do you see how when there's a perfect configuration of individuals in the room that we know ourselves more fully? If it wasn't the perfect configuration of all of you here right now this morning and all of you, we would miss moments of growth that I don't want to ever miss. But we have to show up. That's why I applaud you for being right here, right now this morning, because you showed up to evolve. And when you continue to just cultivate your wisdom by just catching another piece and having the faith and trust when you butt up against that place that you think it still hasn't shifted, I just ask you to take your wisdom right to the edge of that, right to the edge, stand in it. Stand in your prayers, stand in your intentions, stand in your knowing, and open the door to willingness. So that as you step on the bridge to your evolution, you know, I may not know how, but I know the knower that does. I may not know the how of this next step, but I absolutely know the knower that does, that's going to guide me with every breath, with every step of what comes up. Because your wisdom is absolutely waiting for your willingness door to just swing open and stay open. So from this moment onward, allow all butts, except your cute one, all others out the door, nose out the door, stand in shining in your light, and know that your wisdom carries you through, but just leave that door of willingness smack open. Agreed?
Agreed.
Absolutely, and then we'll all join back and rap, and I'll have it down.
Yes.
I gotta have a month to get ready for that, right? That's gonna be like, woo, that's gonna be scary. All right, let me pray for all of you right now. Pray for all of us. I really just looked at each other. Just check out the beauty of each of you, and just know you just are all evolving together. And we could not be ourselves if we didn't have each other to shine. All right? Good. So I'll take it just a unifying breath together, please. Yes. This day and every day, may we just know, absolutely know, K-N-O-W, that divine presence is right here, right now. The Spirit is lifting us with every breath we take, that we know we are seen. The essence of Spirit is right here in form, just lifting this room. That we walk together, move together, talk together, and absolutely glow and grow together from this moment onward. Standing on the bridge together of the evolution of our souls, of the evolution of Soul Center, accepting that we are all willing to grow and know that life is unfolding for our highest good, that the center is being lifted and expanded, that we come together to shine and to grow and to have the safety of this divine space that's created for our growth, to simply remember who we are again. I bless Reverend Keith right where he's at, knowing that he is on his evolutionary bridge, and how grateful we are that he said yes to that calling, so that as he comes back, he brings us the pearls of his wisdom. I say yes to Reverend Michael and bless him right where he is at with Reverend Keith right now, knowing that there's just so much being grown across the earth and right here, and we catch it energetically. We catch the gifts of their expansion as we catch the gifts of our own expansion. I bless us all. I bless our hearts. I bless that joy, abundance, peace, love, divine health, wholeness is falling through, as is the life of every individual here, and that we carry on in growth together. And so it is. Amen. Amen. He says this to the congregation. He looks at me and goes, "No one go unconscious." Which is true. I want us to remember that we're living in an abundant universe. In our wonderful center, we get to keep supporting it in the law of circulation. And the Soul Center is calling forth abundance and absolute overflow to keep growing and expanding, so that this wisdom keeps expanding with us. So just know that your blessing is a blessing to all, and we thank you for it. All right, ushers. Look at the beautiful ushers.